Greetings to the divine name of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I, King Alpha, and I Divine Mother Empress Menen Queen Omega, and I the children of Jah Rastafari, representing for the Ankh Nation family. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in I sight, O Jah. Greetings once and ones. Once again, give thanks for lending ears so I can articulate Rastafari. Now, this word sound is a connection to the previous one. I show the viability of Rastafari through the lens of history, historical observation. Now, the previous video I make word sound, I show the 3,000 year of the Abrahamic domination, infiltration of Ethiopia in a mentally, a mindset. And this mindset, like I said, take over 3,000 years to different Abrahamic penetration, Christianity, Islam, Judaism. Each of them penetrate Ethiopia from a different perspective. But nonetheless, it was done. And out of that, I show the penetration wherein the evolution. Now, what I mean is that I show you, say, I tell you about two words where him are the organizer, the modernizer, before Menelik and before His Majesty. But all of them play an integral part into the Ethiopia that His Majesty came to inherit in 1930. Now, the reason why I manifest and I show the viability of Rastafari is, one, Rastafari connection to Ethiopia is that indomitable spirit, that anciency, the birth of civilization, our origins, as far as the archaeologists, the historians, and all other school of thought manifest is within Africa, preferably Ankh Nation for I. What them call human beings evolve. Now, Ethiopian Rastafari, like I say, is the indomitable spirit, resistance. Now, the Ethiopians, them, resist all colonizers. And I went on to show how Ethiopia remain uncolonized. And it's because, one, are mainly, regardless to the different power dynamics in Ethiopia, they remain Ethiopians. The unity, the nationalism of Ethiopia, this is what kept them from being colonized. And I manifest and show the various different attempts to the different religious endeavors in Ethiopia, whether Islam, Christianity, or Judaism. Now, the reason why Judaism never enter, well, let me not say enter, but the reason why Judaism wasn't so dominant, and when I say dominant, I talk from a conqueror's perspective, is one, because Ethiopia at the time was very strong, and the Ethiopians them what know who they are, so therefore they have the ability to take on foreign cultures but not become foreigners. Them always, just like Christianity, them take on Christianity and Ethiopianize it, keep it in that black perspective. So this is what I try. When I use historical observation, I have to know. You have to know your past. You have to have knowledge yourself. And this is why when I come upon this space and I articulate Rastafari for the youths them. Because I want the youths them to say Rastafari is viable. Rastafari is that restorative process that I need as a people to rectify the future. I have to reclaim my identity. And this is what Rastafari give I come as Rastafari come for rectify and restore. Knowing the faults or the shortcomings I people of the past, and I come to correct. And our correct with knowledge, because we have to know. And this is when I articulate Rastafari and I show the process, because everything is a process. And before I can talk about revolution, I have to revolute I mind into the oneness, because it's a particular mindset that create and establish. And I always draw a correlation to the Jews, them, the Zionist mindset, why Israel is where it is today. See it? The communism mindset is what put China upon the map today. A unified mindset, a oneness within themselves. Likewise, the European man, them have them tribal vibration too, but yet still, when it come down to a commonality where them define as them enemy, them unite amongst themselves and destroy what them deem to be them enemy. And sometimes destroy not necessarily mean weapons, sometimes in the actual school of thought ideologies. The same thing like with the Derg and Ethiopia. Same thing with the Islamic school of thought in Ethiopia again, where turn Ethiopian, traditional Ethiopian to an Islamic people, meaning like some of the Oromos or the people, I mean, the different tribal in ethnic groups in Ethiopia take on to Islam, and some of them take on to Christianity, the Amara Christianity based people, the Oromos and the people, I mean, the Walla and Tigray and Eritrea. You know what I mean? Enough of them take on the Islamic vibration and this cause our division within the country. But what separates Ethiopia from all other nations is that they are deeply nationalistic as Ethiopians. And this is what saved them in the Battle of Adwa. Plus, strategically looking beyond, visionaries. Because if Menelik, Empress Title, and the Ethiopians in general wasn't a vision, people with vision, Ethiopia would have been colonized. And Ethiopia have the ability to take in foreigners and take what they need for take Specifically, I give an example, the brother named Alfred Ilk. He is a European. I think he is a Swiss. But nonetheless, utilizing him, Menelek utilized him, and the mindset and the knowledge base, railways and all these things was developing in Ethiopia. But the most important part of Alfred Ilk was weapons. As a diplomat or advisor for Menelek, he was able, knowing him people as a European, and he was able to get Ethiopia upon weapons modernization. See? And this, we leapfrog forward into 1936. Before we reach 1936, we have to look on the king again. And 1923, the king put Ethiopia in the League of Nations, and that is what forced England in the latter part come in 1941 now to help the king reclaim back Ethiopia from the occupation of Italy. Foresight, strategy, the same thing with Menelek, strategically. Him was diplomatic relation with all of the European nations, them collecting weapons, modern artillery, when match up with the Italians them. So when the Italians them come, and the ace in the hole where the Italians them never know about, or the Europeans them in general, Ethiopia took a European technology, a kind making machine, and converted to a bullet manufacturer. And this is what His Majesty represent. Now, enough ones and one criticize the king and don't even know the king. Because watch it. England and the two-facedness, duplicity. Always the same thing them do with the Arabs them in a World War I, and sell out the Arabs them to the Zionist Jews. And this causes a problem in Palestine today. England is the main factor behind all the way you see. And I can come back now and I will show you again. England again with Ethiopia. Sell out Ethiopia to the Italians them. During the Battle of Adwa time and within His Majesty time. All of them they put up Ethiopia for sacrifice, but the king strategically eventually compelled them, because why? Whenever I try to sacrifice Ethiopia, I repeat this, try to sacrifice Ethiopia to Mussolini, it turned out that them biggest fear came to pass, because Mussolini ended up side with Hitler. And that forced England and Norca, that put England in a terrible position to be conquered by Mussolini and Hitler. So them run come in and help Ethiopia. So this is when the king recognized, and this is how the king recognized the League of Nations, a European sitting. So what the king do? Him established the Organization of African Unity, because him recognize our salvation is within I and I. It's no outside, because all the outside foreign invaders, northern invaders, are one objective them have: complete conquest, domination, which leads to oppression. And that happened in Africa. And it's because of foresight and strategic why Ethiopia never come. And that indomitable spirit, that resistive spirit, represent where I and I as Rastafari represent, connecting I and I with Ethiopia. It's not a Rastafari is trying to be Ethiopians. It is the indomitable spirit, the resistance, knowledge. Because Ethiopia represent and show I and I say, one after being knowledgeable. You see it? And this where Rastafari represent. This is when Rastafari come. And I articulate Rastafari, and I speak Rastafari to the youths them. Because enough of the elders them because of lack of vision, certain things them not see and them cannot see the viability of Rastafari. This is why enough of them are drop the ball and I lean towards religion. Rastafari is not a religion. Rastafari is resistance, revolutionary school of thought. And let me show you another thing now. With the king, because enough ones and ones criticize the king, and don't even look upon the king, or the king strategically maneuver in the European space. It's when England declared themselves as the betrayer to His Majesty. One of the biggest problem to England at the time is them unruly people named America. And the king recognized the power dynamics between America and England, and the king started strategically cultivate relationship with America. Now ones and ones were shut off them out and don't even realize. So what the king do? The king recognized that the king a player upon the divisiveness between England and America. Even though them are one. But nonetheless, for them sovereignty and power play, the king start cultivate with America. So there enough ones and one talk about the king and visit America. Them not over say the king are strategize. This is why the king could have get aid from America in even dealing with the Eritrean problem. See? Strategically movements by the king to protect the Ethiopian empire. Once again, because of the northern invaders, foreign school attack infiltrate the mindset of the Ethiopians, will cause division. And this is what Rastafari come to. It is a preventive for sure. I and I have to come back into the mindset of oneness. And this is what Rastafari represent. Oneness of I and I people for the continent and for the diaspora. That is the only way I and I can fix the events of the past and make sure so the past don't repeat itself. And we have to come in at the oneness, and this is what Rastafari is. We have to do away with the divisive mindset, and Rastafari give I and I identity. You see it? Within the diaspora, and also to be the bringing the new vision to the continent. So when I and I show us the king and I extol the king, the Organization of African Unity was I and I United Nations of Africa. And nation preferable by I and I. Because Africa have so much disdain to I and the diaspora. We have to renew, just like I and I take on the name Rastafari, we have to take on the name Ankh Nation. Because Ankh Nation is that unsolid name that is not tainted. And I have to manifest that for the restorative process of I and I people. So when I and I take on the name Rastafari, is to renew and give I and I that dignity. You see it, and I see him with the name Ankh Nation, because Ankh Nation is life. I and I is the people who give life to the world. So I and I have to repeat that repetitively so I and I can over the meaning of Ankh Nation. Now, let me give you another vibration with the king. Enough ones and ones chat off their mouth and say, what His Majesty do for I and I as Rastafari? I say it already and I go and say it again. His Majesty gave Rastafari umbrella. His Majesty protect Rastafari in Jamaica from persecution, at least blatantly when them come 1966. This is why His Majesty brought Rastafari into the entourage, his delegation when he was touring in Jamaica, and make Rastafari start rub shoulders with people who look upon them as dirty and nasty Rasta. His Majesty brought them. Now, one of the elders them, Martin Plano, he said out of his mouth, out of his mouth, him say, His Majesty told the elders them to organize and centralize. And out of organize and centralization, why Ethiopia withstand colonization, a central government, a central body, a central structure for the protection of the Ethiopian people. And this is where His Majesty come and tell Rastafari, because His Majesty see the viability of Rastafari. Now, watch it now. When His Majesty come and send the church, strategically, I show the elders, some of the elders them take it completely religious. But the reason for the church is a diplomatic move, a strategic move. When to protect Rastafari in its infancy, when His Majesty bring the church, because here the church now represent. The church represent a body. It is a body of people that through Christianity is governed and connected all over the planet. So therefore, when persecution come against Christian, all Christians will unite. And this is how the elders them take on the religious vibration. You see it? This is what the church, this is what His Majesty, this is why His Majesty tell I and I to organize and centralize, but Him gave Christianity protection. This is why Rastafari is now under the United Nations, freedom of religion, protection. But it's not, Rastafari is not a religion. Rastafari is a revolutionary school of thought, and it is here to restore I and I people, restore I and I mindset, reclaim our identity, right? And it's a preventive measures so the things of the past don't repeat itself in the future. But the only way I and I can know these things, I and I have to have knowledge of self, I and I have to know I and I story, and this is what I and I articulate when I and I articulate Rastafari, and I show the viability of Rastafari to I and I people, especially the youths them. But lack of vision, we don't confidence. Most of I and the reason for this again, we have to go back into the divisive mindset. I and the diaspora was socially engineered. I and the continent is tribal. That caused dissension and manipulation where northern invaders can manipulate to go against each other. This is one of I and I biggest, the divisive mindset, and I have to come in the one accord, one God, one aim, one destiny, and this is what Rastafari embody. I and I have to unify amongst I and I self, but it takes a mindset. And the first obstacle is the slave, my psychological, the social engineering creates slaves. I repeat, the social engineering process creates slaves. And the resistors from them time until now have to deal with the slave psychology first. And how we fix that? Knowledge. Because the slave psychology comes through indoctrination, domination, oppression, brutality. We infuse fear, because the problem of the slave is fear. Them fear their master. This is why Rastafari come and declare Rastafari boldly and tell us a God black. And once your God black and you have your own God, then through you your God will work. Because you no longer a question, you no longer have to question God. Because you know that God is with you, God is personal. And this is why I declare His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I. Jah Rastafari. It is the divine within the blackness. You see it? And His Majesty represent that man that walk, travel throughout the earth, respectfully and dignified in our black skin. And this is why Rastafari, I go beyond outside of the Bible and give a practical reality and a practical reflection and a practically know so you can see and over what the King is and what Rastafari is. And if you look on the works of the King and emulate the King, you can also overcome European domination and aggression. this is what His Majesty represents. This is what was the OAU. His Majesty help liberate Africa. No for honor chat off on the mouth and I see the king. Through the king and his diplomatic relations with European nations, he was able to get foreign technology which end up in the other African nations them to liberate them. Mandela, if Mandela was alive, he could attest to it. Kenneth Kaunda could attest to the works of the king. Julius Nyerere could attest to the works of the king. But not for so mind colonized, on a quick for go against on self and listen to the propaganda of the enemy, and then on a start so now a fight against Rastafari. This is why Rastafari get the fight. The enemy know where Rastafari represent. They know. They know that Rastafari have the power to unite the continent and the diaspora in a oneness again, as it was in the beginning. Because out of oneness, all of the great empires in Ethiopia and Egypt. Because we have a oneness of sensibility, a oneness of responsibility to I and I self. You see it? I and I is not no the psychology, the European psychology where them come now, and capitalists. I and I is no capitalist. Capitalist brings division and social structures. I and I is a people of communalism where all for one for all, one aim, one God, one. That is the communalism Marcus Garvey speak to. And it's out of communalism, the natural resource. Everything that we do, every individual is part of the collective, and the collective resources of I and I is pulled towards the betterment and the development of I and I people. And this is Rastafari. So Rastafari is very much viable. It's just that the mindset, the canalized mindset, continue to be an obstacle to I and I people. And this is what I and I have to counteract and eradicate from out of I and I. And we eradicate that through knowledge of self. Know your past so you can fix the present and the future. See it? Know your past so you can what? Fix the present and make the future brighter. And now only way we can do this is oneness. Remember, point out again, the Jewish people who might have beat up the Palestinian them is because of one ideology, psychology where them come from, behind them religion, in the Zionism, Jew for Jew. The China man will dominate the world now with the money. Him could devise communism, taking the system of communism, but it's a Chinese nationalism behind communism. And now them is a dominate on the economic scale in the world right now. Oneness. The white man domination, the northern invaders domination, them understand the oneness amongst themselves, even though them divide with them tribalism. And if you know them story, you can see it. Africans wasn't the only tribal people. The only difference is the white man understand himself. African continue with the divisive mindset. We are one people, and it's within oneness, and this is what Rastafari give to the world. To restore, to reclaim I and I self, I and I power base as a people. So when I say His Imperial Majesty, we declare Jah Rastafari a one God. And when we say Rastafari a one people, it's no divisiveness. This divisive psychology have to be eradicated. And this is the viability of Rastafari. Rastafari come to restore and reclaim I and I identity. And it's the only reason why the problem Rastafari face and the obstacle is because it's a slave psychology. The black skin, white man. What I mean by that? Black people, but your mind white. So you operate like white man, you're a slave now, but when you go in at the seat of power, you do the same thing where your master teach you. Because in truth and in fact, him socially engineered to reflect him. And you learn from him, and you take up him dirty ways. And this is part of the obstacle Rastafari come to eradicate. Rastafari is very much viable. And this is why I articulate Rastafari to the young ones them. You see it? The problem in the Middle East created by England. Ethiopia problem in the 1930s was created by England because they was the one behind the scenes where I pulled the string them. European duplicity and double tongue, double-mindedness, they from day one. Let me repeat, from Noah, Abraham, Moses, Joseph, Jacob, these are just biblical names, but none of them is a set of people. If you want to go historical, if you want to go to the Hittites, them, if you want to go to the Assyrians, them, if you want to go to the Babylonians, if you want to go to the Romans, them, the Greeks, them, all the way to modern European nations, they never liked us, and them do everything in them power to keep us oppressed and keep us down. Only use them off away is for us to serve them so they can take I creativity and maintain them power base. And this where Rastafari come for sure I for mash it up and dismantle mental slavery. These are the shackles where they from my mind, and this is where the resistance them face. All resistive process that manifested in the diaspora, the thing that defeated was the divisive, the slave psychology. And that destroyed Marcus Garvey, that destroyed Malcolm X, that destroyed Marcus Garvey, and the name them go. That destroyed the Black Panther, that destroyed the move in a Philadelphia movement. Is because the slave them cannot detach themselves from their master. Them can't see outside of their master. And these are the psychology of Rastafari have to be cognizant of and have to be aware, and we have to fix that amongst ourselves. And this is where Rastafari come to restore the oneness. We don't lead no leaders, no Messiah complex, no Savior complex. Because when time you give them leaders, them destroy the leaders, them, and then we leave leaders. We need to become a people of knowledge, a people who know who we are, and therefore once we come in that collectiveness, that connectiveness, that oneness, then we becomes undefeated because we are one in mindset, one in psychology, one set in movement, one set in everything, one God, one aim, one destiny. This is the beautiful knowledge that Marcus Garvey extolled, and His Majesty extolled upon a greater level. This is why you have the youth, them now, the younger generation in a Niger now. Ibrahim Traore and them youth in Africa now take back the resource and take back the land and reclaim. It's because of His Majesty did already. Them recognize now the validity of the organization of African unity. Africa cannot survive. I cannot survive. The Ankh Nation continent cannot survive without I coming together as one diaspora and continent. We in the diaspora have the privilege in the white man house to utilize all of the things them these northern invaders want to educate into, for reverse it, to reclaim our knowledge base, and then out of that we connect as one set of people, whether diaspora or continent, and represent I as one people. And that are the words sound. One God, one aim, one destiny. Rastafari answer that. His Majesty show I that. But we have to become more strategic in our approach. Centralize. Structure I self. And with that can happen through centralization, oneness, one body. Millions and millions and billions of African, but we have Ankh Nation people. But we have a one mindset, and the one mindset is Rastafari. Rastafari. And this we are going to seal it upon. Jah Rastafari without apology. Sealer.